Hi, this is Cindy again, and we're back here for week 8 of reading our Bible within a year. Please see the daily readings for this week. We're in Numbers and Proverbs. Day 7 is our catch-up of any reading that you've missed. The blessing is our devotion for today. I've been a part of the church all my life, and one of the things I've known from childhood is that the benediction signifies the ending of the service. Of course, as a child, I didn't know the meaning of the word. I just knew that I wasn't supposed to leave before the benediction was pronounced by the pastor. But as we get older, we start to think we know it all, and we tend to get away from some of the principles we're brought up on. By the time I could drive myself to church, I'd come and go when I wanted. Sometimes I'd leave before the end of the service just because I could, or because I was headed to work and trying to beat the crowd out of the parking lot. As I became more familiar with the meaning of the benediction, however, I learned that it was God's blessing for his people, and I began to understand the need to remain in the service until the end, and it was a very special part of the worship. The principle was established by God himself and given as a directive to Moses and Aaron and his sons. In Numbers 6:23-26, God tells them specifically what to say when they pray and pronounce the blessings, starting with, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you." In other words, God's people need to know what God looks upon them and smiles because he is pleased with them. He is gracious towards them, showing them mercy and favor. He looks in their direction and gives them, us, peace. That is a gift and a blessing in itself. It was a long time before I understood how beautiful and meaningful this prayer of blessing would be in my life. This week, I would encourage you to grab hold of this beautiful gift and apply it not only to your life, but also to the lives of your children, spouse, family, and friends. When your children leave for school in the morning, pronounce the blessing. When your spouse leaves for work or on a trip, pronounce the blessing. When your college-bound young adult leaves for the semester, pronounce the blessing. When a family gathering has come to an end and everyone prepares to leave, pronounce this blessing. You'll always want to make sure that everyone connected to you is just as blessed, safe, and at peace as you are. Points to ponder. 1. Did you know the meaning of the word benediction? What is your personal definition of the word? Have you ever had a bad habit of audible praying over your children, family, or friends? Why or why not? I've named a few instances where the blessing of the Lord should be pronounced. Can you think of any others? Our actions for this week. 1. Make every effort to pronounce the blessing of the Lord over your children or your other loved ones this week. 2. Begin to teach your children or someone else who may not know the meaning of this blessing and how necessary it is in our lives. 3. Make every effort to speak the blessing of the Lord over those who come into contact with you this week. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.